Hi, I'm Sherry. If you look at any photo of my family, you will immediately see that I am very different from my sisters. The thing is, we are half-sisters. We have the same mother, but different dads. When I was born, my mom left my dad because she thought he was a complete loser and married a more successful and promising guy. Then, they had Sarah and Rose. They were both so pretty, I felt like an ugly duckling next to them. It wasn't just their looks that were different. Mom believed that they had a great future ahead of them and supported them no matter what they did. Sarah had been going to modeling auditions since she was a kid and had already starred in several commercials. Rose was a talented ballerina and looked like a doll. Mom loved to brag about their successes in front of her friends. Rose will become a great ballerina, and Sarah is the most beautiful girl in town. I'm so proud of them. Don't you have 3 daughters? Oh, yeah, there's also Sherry. Well, she's quite unremarkable. Wow, thanks a lot. I wanted to find a hobby too, but my attempts always ended in complete failure. After all, I had a talent for breaking everything around me. Clumsiness was my middle name. One day, I decided to try cooking. While trying to bake a cake, I almost destroyed the whole kitchen. Sherry, has an elephant run through the kitchen? Clean it up. Next, I decided to try painting. Unfortunately, I slipped and spilled paint on our new snow-white carpet. Well, I thought it looked even cuter like that, but Mom went ballistic. Sherry, you're a walking disaster. Just accept that you will never achieve anything, just like your loser of a father. As you see, I was going through it. I felt like an outsider in my perfect family. Mom didn't like me, and my stepdad didn't pay me any attention. I never got along with my sisters either. Sherry, would you mind not slurping like that? The crumbs are falling on my plate. Some of us are watching our figures. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot about your water-only diet. Long story short, it was only my upbeat personality that kept me from falling apart. I kept looking for my place in the world. And one day, everything changed. That day, I was eating chips and reading about various hobbies when my mom came up to me and snatched the snacks out of my hands. Sherry, you'll have to cut your expenses. Your food costs us too much money. Can you believe it? It turned out my stepfather had been fired. Mom was terrified of poverty and started to frantically think of ways to get rich. I suggested we sell our expensive car and buy something more modest. But my mother was not thrilled with my idea. Do you want our neighbors to laugh at me? That's not happening. Soon, she came up with another brilliant plan and told us that her old friend Stella had moved to our city. She works in the fashion industry and is obscenely rich. Stella has a son called Jack. One of you girls needs to marry him. We won't ever want for anything then. It was decided Sarah would be the one to seduce the guy, but for some reason, she didn't seem happy about it. Mom, I don't want to date Jack. Don't argue with me, sweetheart. We'll be a great couple. Even though we'd never been best friends, I still asked Sarah why she seemed so upset. None of your business. Well, whatever. There was no need to be so rude. A couple of days later, Stella and her son came over to our place. Mom told Sarah to do her best to make Jack fall for her. Meanwhile, I was sent to the attic so that I wouldn't scare off our future relatives. What am I, some sort of monster? I stamped my foot angrily, and the sudden movement caused my clothes to come apart at the seams. Oops, why was the quality of clothes for people with my figure so poor? Sherry, you destroy everything you touch. Stay upstairs and don't bother us. Whatever. Before I hid, I managed to catch a glimpse of Jack. Oh wow, he was so handsome. But it wasn't meant to be, so I quit drooling and went up to the attic. I was trying to figure out how to pass the time when I found a sewing machine covered in dust. I wondered how it worked. I picked up the old curtains and tried to make a couple of stitches. Surprisingly, my hands seemed to know what to do. Soon, the ugly curtains turned into a gorgeous dress. Wow, it seems I finally found my calling. I was admiring my work when I heard shouting downstairs. The guests left, and I went down to the living room and saw my mother scolding Sarah. What's gotten into you? Why did you scare Jack away? It turned out my sister had done everything to chase away the rich groom. She made faces and silly jokes and even broke wind. I didn't ask why she did it, since she didn't seem inclined to share. Instead, I kept learning how to use the sewing machine. First, I updated my wardrobe, and then I started to create amazing couture dresses from the fabric we had lying about. The attic became the workshop where I hung my works. Meanwhile, Mom had come up with a new plan for us. Rose, since Jack didn't like Sarah, you're going to make him fall in love with you. He's going to come for a visit again soon. But okay, whatever you say. Good girl. As for you, Sherry, I know, I'm going to the attic. I was doing what I liked most in my workshop when I heard people shouting downstairs again. What was it now? I carefully peeked and saw Mom take Rose aside and scold her for something. You humiliated me! I was just, no excuses. Stella came up to them and said they needed to go. I was afraid they would see me and tried to step away from the door, but I was so clumsy I fell to the floor with a crash. What's that noise? That's, just the wind. Stella didn't believe her and went up to the attic to check. I quickly hid behind some boxes because I didn't want Mom to scold me. There was an uneasy silence for a couple of minutes, and then Mom's friend gasped. This is unbelievable! Who created these masterpieces? Mom looked at my dresses and realized that I made them. However, I was the ugly duckling in my family, and my mother was a talented liar. So she said those were Rose's masterpieces. These are lovely! Look at these neat seams! What a design! Stella worked in the fashion industry and said she could introduce Rose to the right people and famous designers. Oh, that would be wonderful. Both of my daughters are incredibly talented. Rose could create outfits and Sarah would wear them on the catwalk. Can you imagine? Mom forgot that she had 3 daughters again! After the guests had left, I stormed up to her. Excuse me? I made those dresses! Sherry, the fashion industry is not for people like you. Your sisters are better suited for it. I have an idea. Then, she said she would give me a perfect workshop on the ground floor and buy me the best fabric possible. You will do what you love and your sisters will get the recognition for it. Everyone will be happy. What do you say? I thought about it and realized that it was better than nothing. Okay, let's do it. The next day, Mom took my dresses and brought my sisters to a meeting with a fashion designer. She came back beaming. Great news, Sherry. The designer liked your outfits. We signed a contract, and you need to make a small dress collection. Sarah will present it at the beginning of his show. With those words, she handed me some fabric and the parameters of the models and told me to go wild. Of course, I was happy someone appreciated my work. But the fact that Rose and Sarah were getting praised instead of me sucked. I was a bit upset, but then Mom said something that inspired me. Sherry, precious. Deep down, I knew that sooner or later, you would find your calling. I'm very proud of you. Thanks, Mom. That means a lot to me. After that, I got to work. I was inspired by the recently released movie Barbie, so choosing the theme was easy. I put my soul into every seam and secretly dreamed of getting on the catwalk in one of my dresses. Still, I knew it wasn't going to happen. Sherry, forget it. You're too big for that. What mattered most was Mom's attitude towards me had changed. Now, she was being very sweet. She made sure I didn't overwork and was always in a great mood. Sherry, my diamond, aren't you hungry? Yeah, I could eat a snack. Just a second. Sarah, cook something delicious for Sherry. But I wanted to meet someone. Get to it. Sherry is the future of our family. Do you want her to starve? Mom made my sisters wait on me while I was working. It seemed that made them hate me even more. I have to date Jack and do Sherry's homework while she's sewing. It makes my blood boil. And one day, my sisters got so fed up with everything, they teamed up and destroyed the dresses I had put so much effort into. I couldn't believe they had done something so mean. You've been too haughty lately. This is a reminder you're not actually a world-famous designer. Don't tell me you're going to cry. Or are you going to come running to Mommy? They didn't know who they were messing with. I didn't want to upset Mom. So I decided I would not give up and worked late at night to create the collection once again. I wanted to spite everyone who thought I was worthless. To be honest, I didn't understand why my sisters were so angry. After all, they would still get all the glory. I also couldn't figure out why neither of them was interested in Jack. He was charming and funny. When he came up to pick Rose, I always sneaked out of the workshop and watched him. Hey, you look great, Rose. Yeah, I'm like so flattered. Does the most talented designer want to go to a cafe with 12 types of ice cream? Rose is on a diet, dear. You should take her to the gym instead. She seems to have gained a little weight. Holy moly! I'd give a lot to eat 12 kinds of ice cream with Jack. Unfortunately, he didn't even know I existed. One evening, Rose and I were at home alone. She said she was going on a date with Jack and left. I picked up a needle and thread, but then someone knocked on the door. I opened it and saw Jack. Hi, who are you? Me? I'm nobody. I quickly hid the thread and needle behind my back. Jack smiled slyly. Could Miss Nobody tell Rose I'm here? Didn't she go on a date with you? Jack said they had no plans that day. He actually came over to break up with Rose. She is cute, but to be honest, I'm only hanging out with her because my mom told me to. My heart didn't skip a beat, you know? I wanted to tell her I have no feelings for her, so I don't want us to keep dating. But since Rose isn't here, I'll come back later. I felt a bit weird. Then, Jack winked and left. I realized I hadn't been outside in a while. I needed to clear my head a little, so I went for a walk. I was walking past the diner when I saw Rose inside it. Wow, she was eating so much food, even I was impressed. I couldn't just leave, so I sat down next to Rose and asked her what was going on. Sherry, please don't tell Mom. She has been forcing me to diet my whole life. I have no choice but to hide from her when I want to eat. Can you imagine? My sister told me why my mother scolded her when Stella and Jack came over. It turned out that Rose had eaten a piece of cake in front of them, and my mom lost it. I just want to eat like a normal teenager and do sports dancing instead of ballet. I have no feelings for Jack and don't want to date him or pretend that I made all those dresses. Before I could say anything, we both saw Sarah walk into the cafe. To our surprise, she was not alone, but with some cute guy. Sherry? Rose? Oh. Sarah immediately stepped away from that guy and tried to pretend they did not know each other. Just introduce us already. Who's this handsome guy? Sarah admitted she had been dating Harry for a long time, but hid it from our mom because she was afraid she would not approve of her choice. After all, Harry's family was poor and our mom was obsessed with status and money. That's why I did everything to scare Jack away. Why was I even jealous of my sisters? I thought they were mom's favorites, but she turned their lives into a living hell with her unhealthy control. At that moment, I finally realized that mom only stopped treating me like an empty space because she saw an opportunity to make money off me. Rose, Sarah, and I talked and made up. I said I would no longer obey mom and make dresses for the show, but my sisters looked at each other mysteriously and suggested I do something else. No, Sherry, you're talented. Everyone should see that. Have I intrigued you? Well, then get comfy. The show is starting. A few days later, the fashion week began. Celebrities and paparazzi came to the show. Stella and Jack were sitting in the front row. Mom was sure everything was going according to her plan and boasted to the reporters that her daughters would become the stars of the show. Then, I appeared on the podium in an awesome couture dress I had created myself. Models with different body sizes followed me. I took the microphone and started talking about my collection. My name is Sherry. As you can see, I'm not a model, but I can look gorgeous too. That's why I created clothes for people of different sizes. In my outfits, you can eat an extra piece of cake and still look irresistible. The audience cheered. Then, Mom got on the podium and tried to snatch the microphone out of my hands. Stop embarrassing me, you walking disaster! My sisters came to my aid. No, you should stop ruining our lives. Sherry is beautiful and talented. Don't you dare hide her in the attic. And by the way, I won't be dieting anymore. Yummy. Oh, yeah, Mom. Meet my boyfriend, Harry. I don't care how much money he has, and I don't care about your opinion either. You conspired against me. How dare you? She kept shouting at us, besides herself with anger. Stella took the microphone. Wow, it seems there's a law I don't know about you. You have amazing daughters. Why are you treating them like this? I liked your work, Sherry. I'd like us to start a clothing line together, but this time, you'll be the one signing the contract, so that your mom won't stand in the way. Deal. Mom left, furious. My sisters and I stayed to watch the show. After it ended, Jack suddenly came up to me. I immediately realized you were the one who created those dresses. I saw you work when I came over to pick up Rose. You know, my heart finally skipped a beat. Will you go out with me? Let's try 12 ice cream flavors. That's how I found my calling. Now, my sisters and I get along great. We are all successful in our own ways and no longer need Mom's approval for anything. I hope my story will inspire you. Now tell me about your hobbies in the comments down below.